All right, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's a morning here, 7 o'clock in the morning as I'm heading into the office. Let's get this car mount situated here. It's the best time for me to make videos because I'm busy every other time, so that really helps when you have a car mount. You don't have to worry about being distracted by holding the phone or something like that. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the Royals' first two spring training games. The Royals have lost their first two games. They lost 4-3 or 5-4. Yeah, I think it was 5-4. Yeah, they lost 5-4 to the Rangers on their first game, and then they lost 9-5 to the Indians yesterday. So, of course, all the ridiculous fans on Facebook that can't see past their own nose, they say things like, well, same old Royals. Okay, let's, first of all, the wins and losses mean absolutely nothing in spring training. Literally nothing. What matters is individual performances, because you want to see what guys are going to do. And so let's look. So I'm going a lot of this off memory. This is off the cuff. One of the things that, well, these girls are just taking their sweet time getting on the bus, aren't they? Come on, girls. The world doesn't revolve around you. One of the things that I've noticed that there's been some good performances and there's been some pretty not good performances too. And so let's break some of that down. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted here. My son's bus is actually in front of me, and as I'm trying to get out of the neighborhood here, and I should have probably gone a different way. Anyway, my high school kids in the back of the bus looking at me. Hey kids, hey, we're the first kids in the world to look out the back of the bus and make faces at a driver. Like that's never been done before. You know what? We're gonna go this way. I'm messing with this bus. Okay. All right. So now that distraction's over, all right. So let's look at the first game. The first game, the one the Royals lost 5-4. They actually had a 3-0 lead in it for most of the game. And then Eric Skoglund came in and he pitched like Eric Skoglund and promptly gave up 3 runs. So Jorge Soler hit in his first spring at bat, hit a 2-run home run in the first inning. So he obviously has come to camp and he's ready to go. Wasn't a lot of offense in the game. There was Soler's shot was pretty much the biggest thing. They scratched across 2 more runs after that. For the most part, the offense was fairly ineffective in the first game. The pitching was really, really good outside of Skoglund and Chance Adams, the guy that they picked up, who was released by the Yankees, the former first-round pick. So let's talk about Skoglund and Adams. First, Skoglund was not good. Just had no command. He wasn't locating his fastball. His breaking pitches were not breaking. He was bad. He had bad command. He had bad control. His pitches were flat, and they hit him like a piñata. It was not a good performance. Now, if it was a pitcher that, so I don't think Skoglund's going to be on the roster. But if it was a pitcher that I thought was going to be on the roster, you may say, oh, well, if it was some guy that you liked that got hit around, you could say, don't overreact. And I'll say the same thing about Skoglund. Don't overreact to one outing. Everyone's going to have a bad outing. The thing is that guys like Eric Skoglund, who don't have a track record of pitching well, they have very little margin for error. And so this is concerning to me. This is a guy who lost half the season last year because he was found to have been using performance-enhancing drugs and got suspended for 80 games. He comes back and he's not good, and he's doesn't look like he's good right now. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, it's one of those things where I think the Royals probably will make a decision sooner than later. I know they're going to give him a lot of opportunities. And, maybe this will be a blip on the radar. Maybe he'll be awesome in spring training and make the team. I just don't see it. Outside of his major league debut where he pitched 6 shutout innings, his parents were there. It was a great story. Outside of that, this guy has been a disaster. And I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he comes from a nice family. But that's just the business of the game. Chance Adams had a chance so after Skoglund blew the lead and allowed them to tie the game, the Royals retook the lead at 4-3. Adams comes in to get an opportunity to save the game in the 9th inning, and he couldn't get anybody out. It just was not good, and he gave up 2 runs, and the Royals lost the game 5-4. So the takeaways from that game, obviously those 2 pitchers were not good. The positives, Jorge Lopez looked good, throwing 2 innings to start the game. Trevor Rosenthal, 2 strikeouts in an inning of work, looked really, really sharp. And then Josh Staumont, who in my opinion was the biggest eye-opener of the day. He only pitched an inning, but he struck out the side. He had dominating stuff. Again, don't overreact one way or the other way to a one spring training outing. But Staumont's, his game that he had in the opener was really, really encouraging. So we'll see if that can continue. He's a guy that the Royals drafted in the first round several years back and was looking to, they thought he was going to be a frontline starter, obvious, and then he's a bullpen guy. He's better off, being like the Wade Davis kind of guy where he can just dial it up for an inning or two and that's it. So that's pretty much the takeaways from the first game. So definitely the positives for Staumont and Rosenthal. Jorge Lopez, who I've been down on Jorge Lopez. So it was encouraging to see him pitch really well to come out of the chute. In the second game, Bubba Starling hit a home run. It's always encouraging to see Bubba Starling do something positive. Kelvin Gutierrez had 2 hits, including his second double. He had a double in the first game too. So Gutierrez showing some extra base power in the first 2 games and hitting the ball pretty well. Ryan O'Hearn also, going back to the first game, Ryan O'Hearn also hit a home run in that first game. So O'Hearn, Soler, guys that you want to count on to hit home runs or hitting home runs. The second game, like I said, Starling went deep. Now, for the pitching in the second game, the Royals used a lot of pitchers. They gave up 9 runs, so obviously overall not a very good performance. But we did get to see our first look at two of the 4 young phenoms. Brady Singer pitched an inning and was really sharp and didn't allow a base runner. And it was really encouraging to see him pitch. He had good location. Jackson Kowar's stuff looked good, but he just got hit. He pitched 2/3 of an inning and gave up 2 runs, including a home run to what was that guy's name? I didn't recognize the name. So the guy for the Indians, I don't remember who it was, but I knew it wasn't one of their frontline guys because it was towards the end of the game. But Kowar definitely did not have, from a numbers wise, did not have the best outing. Like I said, I thought his stuff was pretty good. He got hit, and that's going to happen. So we'll see if he can turn it around next time. And he's the of the 4. I know Singer is the most highly rated. I thought Jackson Kowar had the best opportunity to claim that 5th starter spot, and the only reason why is because Dayton Moore and Mike Matheny have both said that they didn't think that Kowar really was a guy that they were going to even think about using in the bullpen, and we'll get to more of those comments by Dayton Moore here in a second, but some of them very, very interesting. And so let's look at the rest of the lineup. I'm trying to remember who else pitched in this game. Scott Blewett. Okay, so It's a terrible name for a pitcher, Blewett. He blew it. Well, he blew it again. But Scott Blewett, he started the game 2 innings, no runs. I think he allowed 1 base runner. So Blewett obviously looked very sharp. So that was encouraging. He's a guy that is obviously in line for that 5th spot. He is on the 40-man roster. So we'll see what he can do if he's given an opportunity. He's a fringe guy, in my opinion. He's a guy that could go either way. If he's given the right opportunity in the right situation, I think Blewett could become a serviceable major league pitcher. I think he's probably destined more for the bullpen, though, in the major leagues. I don't ever look at him even being a 5th starter. Maybe a swing guy. So we'll see what happens with that. Glenn Sparkman, who was definition of a roller coaster last year, some tremendous starts and then just some head scratchers. He looked very sharp yesterday. Did not allow a run. Struck out. Did he strike out the side? Actually, I think he pitched an inning and a third, struck out 3. He got 4 outs and struck out 3 batters. Obviously, that's a very good ratio there. So what's the overall takeaway from all of this? Skoglund and Adams gave up a lot of runs. Kowar gave up some runs. Who else gave up the runs in yesterday's game? Just about everybody that came in gave up runs except Singer and Sparkman and Blewett. I'm trying to think who else pitched in that game. I'm just totally drawing a blank right now. But a run here or there. It wasn't like a 6-run inning anywhere. It was just just death by 1,000 cuts to 9 runs. And the defense I know made a couple errors. I didn't see who made the errors though, so I'm not going to comment about that. Again, it's February. What is today? February 25th. Is that right? 24th? I don't know. Let's see, the Friday was the 21st, which means Saturday and Sunday was... Yeah, today's the 24th. Okay. So, it's super, super early. It's not even March yet. So, I don't remember when they didn't even start spring training games until March. So, now they're getting them started already in February. But we'll see what happens here. I mean, still pretty early on. There's some encouraging signs. There's some things that I like to see. I'm not too concerned right now about the pitching, even though that is the biggest question mark going into the season. The reason why is because I didn't think Adams or Skoglund had any opportunity or any chance to make the roster. I was disappointed that Kowar didn't come out of the gates, like Singer did today or yesterday. But again, no one's perfect. Everyone's going to give up runs here or there. So that's kind of the wrap up from what's going on there. So let's switch over and talk about Dayton Moore for a second. So Dayton Moore was on with Soren Petro, and he had a very interesting interview. And general managers and managers in baseball are very, I'm not going to say they're arrogant, but there's a lot of pride there. And the pride that they have is that, you have to have some level of it, I think, to be successful at that level. And Dayton Moore, after the Royals won the World Series in 2015, Dayton Moore had to make a choice. Does he tear it all down? Because he knows he has this core group together for 2 more seasons. Does he tear it down, though, and trade him away to try to start a rebuild faster? Or does he try to squeeze out another playoff appearance and maybe another World Series appearance? Obviously he tried for the latter, and then in 2017 he tried to do both. And it really, really did not work out well. Even though the Royals were, under the new playoff format, the Royals actually would have been the second wild card, even at 80 and 82 with their final record. So it was a very soft wild card that year. The Royals were leading the wild card at at the trade deadline. So you couldn't fault them for going for it. They were right there. They just had some really poor pitching down the stretch. Anyway, this is not a recap of 2017. That was 3 years ago. Dayton Moore said a couple things that were very interesting, though. He said that if he had to do it all over again, he said he'd he might have made some different choices. And I was really encouraged to hear Dayton Moore admit that maybe his approach wasn't the best. So I'm going to turn some heat on here. I realized it was unseasonably warm in Kansas City over the weekend, and there we go. So I had my heater off in my car this weekend. I had the windows down, but it's 44 and kind of yucky this morning. It's kind of misty rain. So anyway, so I was encouraged to hear Dayton Moore say that. I really thought that this was a thoughtful response to a very difficult question, especially when Dayton Moore has said in the past that, oh, we're not tanking. We don't like that word tanking. We don't like rebuilding. And then, they finally admitted that they were, in fact, in rebuild mode. And when you lose 100 games in back-to-back seasons, 207 games to be exact, there's going to be there's obviously some element of rebuild there. And one of the things that Dayton Moore said was he was asked about the 4 young pitchers, Singer, Kowar, Lynch, and Bubic. And he said, Soren's like, I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, you've got a million people probably asking you, when are these guys coming up? And Dayton's like, well, I would like to know that too. He says, but he says, we're not going to rush these guys to this, but they're really close. And I'm paraphrasing here too, I'm trying to remember what he said, but he said something to the effect that these guys, we believe that they can get major league hitters out right now, that they have the stuff to do it, and it's the matter of time to finding them the right opportunities to call them up. And this is when he started talking about the roles, and he said that Singer and Bubic would be guys that would be candidates, to really come up and probably get their feet wet like Brad Keller did out of the bullpen, and then have the opportunity to prove themselves there and slowly work into the rotation as they learn the major league game. He feels that their stuff translates well either way, even though they obviously want both of them to be starters. Oh, then he said that Kowar and Lynch, he didn't think they were going to go down that road with either of those two. He said those two guys, when we called them up, we expected them to be starters. We don't look at them as being in the bullpen, which I thought was really, really interesting. Maybe I'm the only person in the world who thinks that's interesting. But usually the Royals, they've historically done this. They bring a guy up, they put him in the bullpen. Oh, yeah, and I need to get gas. I don't know what the deal is with this thing. Just bouncing around just a little bit. It's okay. It's a little bumpy. So I really liked that response by Dayton Moore. I appreciate the honesty. Sometimes they don't let you in on that level inside their mind, and obviously that reveals a little bit of the strategy that has been discussed between him and Mike Matheny. So I was encouraged by that. I thought that was a very thoughtful response and a very honest and open response. I mean, if he was going to give you the cliched answer, you just kind of roll your eyes and say, well, okay, we'll see what happens. But he's obviously thought this through, and we knew he had thought it through. But the fact that he told us his thoughtful answer, I was very encouraged by that. So that thumbs up to Dayton Moore for being, more transparent than a lot of GMs would be in that situation. So I do think that they believe that Duffy, Montgomery, Keller, and Junis are the guys for the top 4 spots in the rotation. Again, I've been very open and honest that I think Keller's the only one who deserves it. I think the other 4 spots in the rotation should all be open for competition this spring. And I did say, Will Duffy obviously is deserves to be there too. It probably is 99% chance, even in the competition, would still get one of the spots. I didn't think that Montgomery and Juna should just be handed the opportunities just because of the way they pitched last year. And that's just my opinion. It's the way I look at it. But they're pretty comfortable with those 4 guys. And that's fine. I guess I don't agree. So I am on record saying I don't agree with that approach, but they're not going to rush these young pitchers up. And I understand not rushing the pitchers, okay? And it's easy for me to sit here, as just a fan, someone who is my only invested interest in them is just rooting them on. And so, I can afford to make this thing is just bouncing. I'm gonna have to tighten that up. I have no repercussions, by saying outlandish things, offering a hot take. Because what it does is some people would say, well, you throw a hot take out there because it's not going to be true, and then when it doesn't happen, it's not going to happen. It gives you the opportunity to talk against it because that's what you want. And there is a little measure of that there, I suppose. I'm going to be honest with you. I look at these guys. These are not high school kids that we drafted 2 years ago. These are college pitchers. And they're all 23. Well, Bubic is 22. The other 3 are 23. They're all turning 24 and 23 respectively this year. It's time. It's time to go to work. Like I said in the other video, like what Dick Vermeil said about Larry Jones. It's time to put on your big boy britches and go to work. So I do think that they're not going to rush them this year. Again, I think that's a mistake. I think all of them need to have major league opportunities this year. But again, that's just me, a blowhard fan with a smartphone camera and a YouTube channel telling you that. So, I said last week that I thought that Jackson Kowar probably had the best shot to grab that 5th spot. I'm still going to say that. I still think that he has that opportunity, though. If we had like a running tally of who we think is going to be there, based upon pitching performance, I'd have to give it right now. I'd have to say maybe Glenn Sparkman has nudged a little bit ahead of Kowar in that regard, just because of his performance yesterday. Of course, Scott Blewett was very good too. I don't know if Blewett is in the running for that spot, but I have mentioned him in the past as one of the 14 pitchers who could start a game for the Royals, and that would not be the worst thing in the world. So, anyway, those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on Dayton Moore and on the first couple games. I'm not going to make a video after every single game. I'm not going to break it down that closely. I'm going to try and chunk them, maybe do 2 or 3 games at a time. And if any big news comes out, especially when they start trimming the rosters down here, probably in a couple weeks, we will talk about that. Whenever they make the first decision to send players out to the minor league camp, we'll definitely have some thoughts on that, and as the roster starts to begin to take shape. So anyway, hope you have a great day, and go Royals. Thanks a lot for watching.